So the author finished reading the letter and folded it and carefully kept it. I folded the letter again and slipped it carefully back into the envelope. I kept awake all night. By morning I knew what I had to do. I drove to Bredport, just a few miles away. So he carefully kept the letter again on the envelope, and that night he couldn't sleep it. So he decided that he is going to deliver this letter to that person. So the next morning he drove to Bredport, just a few miles away from his place, and asked the boy who was taking his dog where Copper Beaches was. And when he found that place was nothing but a burnt out because of fire. So you can understand why the roll top desk had so much of scorch marks. So he wanted to find about Mrs. Jim Macpherson, so he knocked the next door, and a person came out, and it turned out that he was wearing a slipper. So I asked the boy walking his dog where Copper Beaches was, house number 12, turned out to be nothing but a burnt out shed. The roof caved in, the windows boarded up. I knocked at the house next door and asked if anyone knew the whereabouts of Mrs. Jim Macpherson. Oh yes, said the old man in his slippers. He knew her well. A lovely old lady, he told me, a bit muddy-headed. But at age, she was entitled to be, wasn't she? So she was old and bit muddle-headed because of the age. 101 years old. So you could see the age of Mrs. Macpherson here. She was 101 years old. She had been in this house. So she was 100 years old now, and that's probably the reason why she was confused a little bit. Maybe because of the age. She had been in the house when it caught fire. No one really knew how the fire had started, but it could well have been candles. She used candles rather than electricity because she always thought electricity was too expensive. So here the person who knew about Mrs. Macpherson told that she was a lovely lady. She was 101 years old. She was a bit confused, a muddle-headed person, and mostly she uses candles rather than electricity because she always thought that electricity was too expensive. For her perspective is that she believed that electricity was far too expensive to use it, so she decided to use the candle. The fireman had got her, she used candles rather than electricity because she always thought electricity was too expensive. The fireman had got her out just in time. She was in a nursing home. So it looks like because of the candle that she was using, her house caught fire, and the fireman managed to rescue her at the right time. She was in a nursing home now, he told me. I found Burlington House nursing home easily enough. There were paper chains up in the hallway, and a lighted Christmas tree stood up in the corner with a lopsided angel on top. I said I was a friend to come to visit Mrs. Macpherson to bring her a Christmas present. So he managed to find the Burlington nursing home easily, and he found that the hallway was completely decorated and lopsided angels in the Christmas tree because it's Christmas Day, so the celebration was on. And he met a person there and asked about Mrs. Macpherson, and he also said that I'm a friend of her and I wanted to give her a gift. I could see through into the dining room where everyone was wearing a paper hat and singing. The matron had a hat on too and seemed happy enough to see me. She even offered me a mince pie. She walked me along the corridor. Mrs. Macpherson is not in with others, she told me. She was rather confused today, so we thought it best if she had a good rest. She has no family, you know, no one visits. So it seems that Mrs. Macpherson was kept separately with others only to protect her because she was a bit confused today, and it's best that if she could take rest. That's the reason. And the person also says that nobody comes to see Mrs. Macpherson because she has got no family. She has no family, you know, no one visits. So I'm sure she will be only too pleased to see you. She took me into a conservatory with wicker chairs and potted plants all around and left me. The old lady was sitting in a wheelchair, her hands folded in her lap. She had silver white hair pinned into a wispy bun. So finally he saw Mrs. Macpherson. She was an old lady sitting in a wheelchair, her hands folded in her lap. She was sitting, she had silver hair and it was pinned into a Whoopsie bunny. She was gazing out at the garden. Hello, I said. She turned up and looked at me vacantly. So the author called or said hello to Mrs. Macpherson. Happy Christmas, Connie, I went on. I found this, I think it's yours. As I was speaking, her eyes never left my face. So the author, he gave the gift to Connie. He also said Happy Christmas, and I thought that I could give a good gift for you, and I brought it. So he showed that the box, inside the box, obviously you know that there is a letter in it. As I was speaking, her eyes never left my face. So he was speaking to her and her eyes kept pointing at his face, not looking anywhere else. That was the moment her eyes lit up with recognition. As I was speaking, her eyes never left my face. I opened the tin box and gave it to her. That was the moment her eyes lit up with her recognition and her face became suffused with the sudden glow of happiness. I explained about the test, but I don't think she was listening for a while. So he opened the box and showed it to her, and the moment when he opened the box, her eyes lit up with happiness. She was not looking at anywhere else. She was not even listening to what he was saying. She said nothing but stroked the letter tenderly with her fingertips. So he was just touching the letter and tenderly tapping it. Suddenly she reached out and took my hand. Her eyes were filled with tears. You told me you would come home by Christmas, dearest, she said, and here you are, the best Christmas present in the world. Come closer, Jim dear, sit down. So what turned out to be, what happened here is that Connie thought that the person who came here she thought that the person who came here is her husband. And suddenly she reached out and took his hand. She reached out and took his hand. And Connie's eyes were filled with tears because he told in the letter that he would come to home for next Christmas. And she said that, as you said, you have come today, and this is the best Christmas present in the world. And please come closer and sit next to me. I sat down beside her and she kissed my cheek. I read your letter so often, Jim. The author doesn't want to reveal his identity because she was an old person and he don't want to disturb her. So he just followed what she said. He sat next to her. I sat down beside her and she kissed my cheek. I read your letter so often, Jim, every day. I wanted to hear your voice in my head. It always made me feel you were with me. So he wanted to hear his voice, and it always made her to feel. And now you are back. You can read it to me yourself. Would you do that for me, Jim dear? So Connie asked the author to read the letter because she was thinking that the person who is here is her husband, and she wanted to hear his voice, and she wanted to read the letter. She wanted to read the letter in his voice. I just want to hear your voice again. I would love that so much. And then perhaps we will have some tea. I have made you a nice Christmas cake, marzipan all around. I know how much you love marzipan. So she also says that first you read the letter for me. I would love to listen to it, and after that we can have some tea. Later I also have made a nice Christmas cake, marzipan. I know how well you like it or how much you like it. And at the end of the story, the author never revealed that who he is, and the story stops there. It is such an emotional and a very beautiful story written by Michael Marcoco, where a war and a peace and the family members got affected, and the person who was trying to help the old lady by giving a gift. With that, the lesson stops, and I hope you have understood. Thank you so much for joining.